We're getting back into the NBL here, and the season has been finalized. Question is, how are everyone's going to do? I'm going to put my predictions here and say how I think each team is going to do this season and looking at their schedule. That's all coming up right now on Sports Hour. Alright, let's talk about the teams, the NBL for this next season. It is going to be an interesting season. I will say a lot of these teams are going to be in a good position for this next season. Not going to go for the actual roster. Means roster you can look at all the things that are going to be put below this video and every video before this. We're just going to first talk about how each team is going to do. Panthers are the first team. Let's talk about them. They have one of the easier schedules, and it is going to be interesting to see how they do it. They are in one of the toughest divisions. And they have a division where all three of the teams made the playoffs last season, and it's going to be an interesting game to go for that. Panthers are, however, very hurt, and the context is the team is struggling a whole lot more in this season, and I think even though they're going to have a pretty good season, I think they're going to have a great season still. It's just going to come down to really what's going to happen to them. And honestly, it's going to be very interesting. The prediction for me right now is that they do have a decent season. Current prediction for me is out of the 16 games, I think they're going to be missing it slightly. I'm going to go with 8-8 right now. I think, and that's not going to division. Division, I do think they're going to have a little bit of struggle as well. I think they're going to go 4-2 in the division. I think with the context of Panthers will beat. They're actually more than. I think they're going to go out 5-3 in the division. Because the context, the Panthers are going to have some problems. And it comes down to the fact that I think that the team is going to have civil errands. They are going to have some problems. And the fact is, I think they're probably going to end up losing both games against the Legends. And sadly, I think they're going to lose one of the games against one of the other teams. I don't think they're going to lose against the Cardinals. That's going to be 2 games they get for that one. Dogs will probably win one of the games at least. They might lose one of them. And the Knights, they'll probably go 1-1 as well. as of right now, I think 8-8 is a fair record to say for them because they just do not have the team they had before because they don't have as much of the defense. Looking at their record-wise, they have a lot of point guards, but they just don't have the forwards and defense. They don't have nearly as defense backs they need, and unfortunately, that's going to hurt them. Going up to the Knights next. Knights are a team that's going to have a bit of a struggle because the Knights are a team that's been consistently kind of a team that's kind of weak. Predicting the record is difficult for me because they do have one of the more difficult records, at least in the division. I think they're going to have some decent games. They're going to win some games, but the context is the Knights just don't have the experience they need, and the experience is what's going to kill them in the end. I think it is going to come down to the factor if the team even has enough minutes. As of right now, I think they do have a decent minutes. I'm going to right now say they go 7-9. I think that's a fair record to go for it. I do think they, however, go 3-5 in the division. I don't think they're going to win. I think if they're lucky, they'll win. They'll go 1-1 against the Panthers. They'll lose both games against the Legends. They'll win one game against each one of those, which one of the games routine here, and that does mean I think that they're going to have some struggles. And honestly, I think this is going to be an interesting league. But looking at the Knights before, Knights are just not as good as you might think, as you might need them to be. The Knights have not been good. They're actually the most wins they've ever gotten is 11. They got 9 last year. They got 10 the year before that. 9.5, 10. It's all the way back in his. They're 49 and 39 and 2. So I mean, it does not look too well for them. And honestly, I don't know how well it's going to do. The Legends have only had one season. I don't think it's fair to really give them a good rating off of this. But the thing is, I do think the Legends are going to be a lot better than it. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the team that wins the division. But the record-wise, I actually think they're going to win every game except for one. I think they're going to lose one game. I think the record's going to be, I think it's 7-11, right? Yeah, because we have that. In the division, putting themselves at, I'm gonna say right now 12-6. I think that's a reasonable record. I think they're kind of gonna lose some games outside of division. They'll probably end up losing one game inside. They'll probably lose against the Lightning. They'll probably get surprised a few times, which actually really doesn't make much sense because that means I think they're gonna get beaten down by teams outside the division. I think they're going to lose against the Lions. They're going to lose against the Lynx. They'll probably lose against the Ravens. But I think they're going to, I'm going to say 7-1 right now is probably the best record for them. As for the Dogs are one of those teams that have been kind of iffy. Looking at the Dogs here, I don't know. The Dogs officially are just over 50% in win rates. And sadly, they're in one of the tougher divisions. Bad news is I don't see how well I don't think they're gonna do it. Especially when they got one of the tougher schedules. I'm sorry, but they are gonna lose. I think they're going to go 2-6 in the division, and sadly, they're not going to do much better outside. I currently have them going 4-12. I did not do that right. I did that wrong. I forgot it was 16 games, not 18. I have them going 4-12 right now. I think they're going to win 2 games outside the division. I have them winning right now. If I look at it correctly, I have them beating the Tigers, and I have them beating the Knights. That's a divisional game. Beating the Knights. I had them beating the Knights. I had them beating the Cardinals once. Then they're going to I think they're going to probably beat the Browns, and then I would say probably get lucky and beat probably the Packers or the Tigers. That's the best I can say right now. All right, the Cardinals have been hurt a lot. They have lost a lot of players. They have, however, made a big mistake and got rid of their one good player, and it's hurt them. They're 46, about 56%. Made the playoffs a few times. Sadly, I don't see them winning any games in the division. I just don't see it. I think they're going to get lucky and win 1 game the entire season. I think they're going to get, that's how lucky I think they're going to get. I think they're going to win 1 game. And that game is sadly probably against one of the games they play against the Tigers. They play 2 against the Tigers for some reason. Yes. So as of right now, if I was going to predictions here, Cardinals are dead last. Doesn't even bolded. Dogs are not far behind. Legends are going to take the division. Knights are going to be 3rd. And Panthers are going to be 2nd. Currently, if I'm correct, I'm going to guess this probably gets them in. I think that the Legends will get into the playoffs. I don't know where the seed is. Now we got to the Pirates. The Pirates have the easiest schedule in the entire league. They did not deserve it. Like any team deserves having the easiest schedule. Pirates right now are just slightly over. But they have 3 ties. They're 49% win. Yeah. I just don't know how to put this in a position that will make much sense. I mean, looking at this team, they're going to have an easy schedule. They're going to have it. And unfortunately, that probably means they're going to make the playoffs. I think it's fair to say they probably will make the playoffs. But it is tough to actually say what happens in order for them to make the playoffs. I got 2 of these teams that did not get predicted. So we get the I must have deleted the thing by accident. And the Bears. There we go. So here's the thing. they have the easiest schedule. However, that does not mean they're going to go undefeated. Sadly, they probably will not go undefeated. They do have some really tough games, and honestly, their division's pretty tough as well. I wouldn't be surprised if their division is going to be super tough. I'm going to say they probably lose 2 games in the division, going 6-2, which is still pretty good. I don't know, they'll probably lose 1 game against the Dragons, 1 game against the Bears. That's my guess. As for the prediction for the record, I would say right now, if they go 14-2, I don't think they're going to lose anything in other games. I mean, they've got an easy schedule. Actually, let's rephrase that. I think they're going to probably go 13 if there's 1 game here that might be it. We'll have more predictions for this later. Off of that position, this is what I'm going to think. I think the Pirates currently, with that, will put themselves in first place in the division. Moving next to, that one's correct now, the Kings. Kings are a team that's kind of like, we're going to have a hard time this season. They got some interesting games in it. The bad news is they're going to have a hard time in the division at all because they just do not have anybody at all to go with. I'd say they probably win the 5 of the last 6 games. And sadly, that's all they get. They get 5 wins. I have them 5 wins and 13 losses. And sadly, only one of those comes from the division. That's a 1-7. I have them with. I think they're probably winning against the Indians 1 time. Other time probably won't happen. And for some reason the Bears play. I have something messed up here. I'm trying to make sure it was messed up. It is finalized though, so that is how it's going to work. I may flip one of these games around, but currently, I'm sorry, it's just going to be hard for me to say. I think they probably win a lot of the last games, but after that, other than that, no. I don't think they're going to win much at all. Bears are in a much better position in the division, at least. I'd say they win 3 games in the division and then they lose 5 games in the division. So in the context is, I think they probably win at one time against each of these other teams. They probably lose 1 time to each of the teams too, and they lose both times against the Pirates. Record-wise, though, it is tough to actually give them a good prediction record because the context is they're going to be they have a somewhat more difficult schedule. It's not terrible. Right now, I'd say they probably are going to get lucky and you're going to get 6 wins and I did that wrong, 5-11. I think they get 6 wins. Put them as 10 losses. It won't be terrible for them, but I think they're going to be a little bit worse than they're going to be a little bit better, which currently will put them in a different position. Alright, Dragons are probably the toughest team. They have not been great, though, and that's the thing. If you look at the Dragons before, Dragons were terrible the last 2 seasons. They were good before that. They were kind of average before that. I think the Dragons are going to have a tough game. They're definitely losing both games against the Pirates. There's just no chance they win those games. I'm going to say right now, they're going to go about half and half. I think that's what's going to go for that. And sadly, they're probably going to go 5-6 in these last 6 games. Maybe 6-6 in the last 6 games. Unfortunately, it's not going to quite do it for them. I'm going to say right now they go 7-9. Pretty decent record, but not going to be good enough. Indians are the team that really would love to actually have a good season. Their best season was 8-8. They have 31 wins and 70 losses with a little less than 30.3% win rate. Bad news is they're probably going to win some games in the division. I will say they're going to win. I would say they go probably 3-5 in the division as well. Bad news is that's about it. I have them predicted to go 4-12 or less over the rest of the season. Which most likely means now this is a tough division. This is a tough division, but unfortunately, Pirates are going to make it into the playoffs with a very good record, and they're not going. None of them are going to make the playoffs. That's a prediction. Now, I will say that doesn't mean anything right now, but that's what we'll do. NBL North or East. Maybe it's the East. Yeah. Bulldogs have one of the easier schedules. And looking at them, Bulldogs are winless basically because they have 90 wins, 90 total games in their division in their series, .411 percentage. Yeah, it doesn't look well for them. Let's start this. And sadly, it's tough to go with any of these things because this one's actually going to be a tough division as well. Now, it's going to be probably a winless division. Starting off with the record-wise, I do think this division is going to basically kill everyone else. So I'm going to say right now, 5-3 for that one. Which unfortunately, sadly, they're going to have a hard time winning any other games outside of that. Because a lot of these other games are still pretty tough. I'm going to put them at 7-9. And that might actually be enough to win the division. Okay, looking at the next one here. Oof. I mean, this is a tough one because the Angels have been good. And if you look at these last 7 games, they'll probably win. I would say probably half of those games. So the last 8 games, they'll probably win half of them. I still have them going. I'm going to have them go 4-4 as of right now in the division. And at this time, though, I'd say they go probably winning 2 of the games outside of it. So I would say they're going 6-10. So slightly worse. Browns. having one of the easiest schedules. Well, I would say they had the easiest schedule, and honestly say they probably do have a fairly good, very easy schedule going into this. I think they've only got a few tough games. I think they actually do really well in the division. I'm actually going to have them go 6-2 in the division. And I'm actually going to have them go about half and half outside. So they shall win. I think, will win the division off of the context of that. That probably actually will put them in a position where they will win the division. But the context is they do have a little bit of a problem. Looking at the thing before, Browns are slightly less. They're 0.48% in win rate. So honestly, this is going to be a very interesting game. Saints are a team that really needs help. They have a really young team. And that's about it. I do have them winning quite a few games in the division because their division is going to be probably the easiest division to win out of. I'm going to say right now they do not win as many games. I'm going to say 3-5, which is not terrible for the context of what division they're in. But they do have every game other than that is super, super tough. And sadly, it's going to be difficult to win any other games that are not in the division. So, sadly, I say they actually don't win any more games. I think they win one game. 4-12 is I think. I think they're going to win against the Indians. That's the only team I think they're going to have a chance at. Maybe the Dogs. Sadly, that is going to be what I have to say for that. As for the Falcons, well, let's see. Falcons have been terrible, like really bad. They're 0.35 percentage. So they've made the playoffs only 4 times. They have not. The last time they made the playoffs was in 2018, and sadly, not going to see much of it. I do think they'll win some of the games in the division, putting them about. I say they put themselves at about 3-5 as well. But other than that, it's going to be tough to win any of these games outside the division. It looks like they only play once. Alright, But it's going to be tough, and I would say right now, most of these other games are going to be losses for them. I'm going to actually say they'll get lucky to go 4-12. I think that's probably being nice. That means the Browns win the division. The Angels will go 3rd. Wait, 3rd. And Bulldogs are going to slightly miss it. As for the Vegas and the Falcons and the Saints, both these teams will have the same record and have the same division record, so it really is going to come down to what happens in the division. I will say I do think the Saints are going to be slightly better, so I will say that I will put them as getting the 4th in division. So it would be interesting going into that. NBC South, or NBL South. Fox, this is another really tough division. And yeah, I don't know how to say about the Foxes, because the Foxes, in this one, they got a tough division. I think the division themselves is going to be tough. I will say, I think the division is going to be tough for every one of them. I think we'll get surprised a little bit, though, in each of the divisions. I'm actually going to say that every one of these people go 4-4 in the division. Everyone goes 4-4 in the division. Now, it really comes down to the other games outside of this. Unfortunately, Foxes don't have an easy schedule. I'd say they probably go 4-4 the rest of them too. I want to say right now they go 8-8, and that's probably being confident. The Hawks have a probably more difficult later schedule, so I say 7-9 for them. They have a pretty decent schedule, but the thing is, these last games here are going to be all difficult. This good. Ravens, I think they're probably going to have a hard time. I think they're going to go 6. I think they're going to lose a lot of these games, 6-12. So I think they probably win against the Cardinals, and they win against the Dogs. Other than for the non-divisional, yeah, I think that's fair to go with that. As for the Tigers might actually have a good chance at losing every game. They do have to play the Cardinals twice. There's one of those teams that do have to do it twice. And bad news is these games are not going to look fun for them. I would like to say they're going to get lucky to have one more win after this. I would say right now the predictions for them is going to be 5-11. Giants had probably the best chance early on the season to go like close to undefeated. So I actually have them halfway through the season going 5-3. Bad news is that is going to be probably it. I'm thinking right now they're going to lose some of these last games, and it's going to be 7-9, which means the Foxes just barely hold on to first place in the division. Now the Giants and Hawks are going to be tied in the division. I think honestly they'll be tied in everything. So I would say it's going to come down to each of their games. And I do think the Hawks are going to be slightly better than them. I'm going to go with that being that they will not. None of the only one of these teams will make the playoffs. So that's Ravens and Tigers. Ravens are going to be get a slight edge, and that is the prediction for that one. All right, moving on to the ABL North. Yeah, the Little Cats were really good this last season. Little Cats only played one season, but they went 15-1, losing only against the Panthers. So yeah. What do we have them at this point? Well, they are going to have a very interesting season. I actually say they're going to go undefeated in the division. That's right, undefeated. in the division. Okay, that's not really fair. I think they lose one game against the Jets. Unfortunately, as for these other games, they're gonna be probably winning most of these games as well. So I'm gonna say 13-3. I think that's fair. I think they'll lose one game probably against the Jets. They'll probably lose week 1. And they'll probably lose one or two of these games here. I'll probably lose against the Lynx. And they'll probably lose against the Lightning. But other than that, I think they're going to do really well. Jets, I'm actually having them go 6-2 in the division. But unfortunately, sadly, I don't know how well they're going to do with this streak right here. All 8 of the games are going to be interestingly easy. So I'm going to say right now, they probably get pretty close too. I said they go 13-3 as well. I think the only game they lose is against either the Dragons or the Stars, other than the division. It's not in the division. But Lightning's in Division 2. Yeah. It's going to be a tough one for that one. So I think that's going to be very tough, which means, unfortunately, that's probably going to get the division. But let's see. Yeah, well, let's see. Lightning have been good before. Lightning actually have not been good. They're 50-38 with an 8 played and only had a 56% win rate. Bad news for them. That's not going to do well for them. They don't win a single game in the division. No. I think they probably go. I think they were going to get lucky to go 2-6 in the division. And honestly, I couldn't tell you which two teams they're going to beat. Which really is going to make it difficult for them because they're not good. They have made the playoffs they've actually made the playoffs, let's see, one time, 2020. They made it in 2020. That was it. So unfortunately, Legends are just not going to do well. I would not be surprised if the Legends have a hard time with it. I think they win probably 2 of the games outside of this. But unfortunately, after that, I say it's not going to be good for them. I'm going to say right now, they go, if they're lucky, 6-12. And honestly, that's probably pushing. I think 5-11 is probably going into be the best position. They could probably push it to 6-12, winning some of these games, but it's going to be very, very difficult for them to do it at all. Then we have the Werewolves. It's going to be the one team I think it's actually going to do well. But not in the division. I think they're going to lose every game in the division. I'm going with no games won in the division. And then they go 8-8. So I think they win every game outside of the division. Everything is outside the division. They win. They lose every other game. I'm going to be fair and say they probably don't win that many games, but I'm going to say, I say they probably are going to get lucky and go 7-9. But it doesn't really matter much. Eightham. Yes, I pronounced it Eightham. It's correct. 0-0. I think the win against the Werewolves. That's it. They lose all the other games. Go 2-6 as well. Actually, I'm gonna say they probably actually no. I'm gonna correct that. I think they go 3. I think they go 3-5 in the division, which is not terrible, but they do have a tough schedule, and that's really not gonna be good for them. I think they're gonna get lucky and will win 6 games, but they'll probably lose the rest of them, going 6-10. Which will put them in a position where they're going to be better than the Lightning. But other than that, they're not going to be great. As for the units, I think the Leland Cats do end up winning the division. But only slightly. I will say I do think both these teams currently make the playoffs. I have to go back to see who I think would make the playoffs. Do make playoffs. Let's talk about the next one here. I didn't put strength schedule for this one. Whoops. Sorry about the mess up there. Alright, so the strength of schedule, first off, for the Stars. Stars of it 8.5 strength of schedule. Superman have an 8.13. Westville has a 7.22. The Beagles have a 7.59. The Chargers have an 8.25. Not that anything that matters. Looking at the Stars here. Stars are going to be a good team. I do have no doubt of that. I think it's going to be they're going to be a team that's going to make a lot of low-scoring games, but I do think they're going to have a very, very good position. And honestly, this is probably the easiest division to win in context of everything else. The Beagles are the only team that's going to give them a hard time, and maybe other teams, but. As for the Stars went 14-2 last season, lost the divisional round. It's gonna be tough, and honestly, I have to go with it. Well, I gotta think about this because I think they do go 2-0 against the Superman. I think they go 3-1 against this Westville. Go make it 3-1. I think they will lose both games. And then they win both games against the Chargers. I think it's going to be 5-3. As for the other games here, sadly, I don't see them winning some of these games. But I do think they're going to go. I think they win 2 more. I think they win. Let's see, 1, 2, 3 games. Other than that, so I think they're probably going to put themselves at 8-8. I don't know where that's going to put them. Superman. Then they go 1-1 against the Stars. I would say they probably beat to a 3-0. I said they go 4-2 against the Beagles, and then they beat the Chargers. Put themselves at 6-2. They're gonna have a much easier schedule, I think. I think they go 10. I'm gonna say 10-6 right now for the Supermen. Which unfortunately does mean they're going to go a whole lot better. But I think it's only because they do have a slightly easier schedule than what the other teams have. As for the Superman themselves, they are not winning. They're not a winning team. So they got .46, and that's not exactly a very good position. Hopefully an easier schedule will do well for them. As for Westville, I will say they go 1-1. They go 1-1. They will go with 2 losses, and I think they get 2 wins. So I think they go 4-4 in division. As for their other games, they're kind of in a position where it's going to be difficult to predict. I would say they're probably looking at an 8-8 record as well. And Westville would have a better record. It would be the Stars would have a better record there, but because it is a tough division, and they are a much newer team, but they are in a little bit better positions. But again, they're not really a winning team. They have 45 wins, 59 losses, and 1 tie for a .42. Not exactly position. The Eagles probably in the best position. They go 1-1 against all 3 of these. They wins. They go 5-3 in division. Oh, yeah. But they have the toughest, like, they're starting a schedule. I think they go 3-1 here. I think they're losing against the Dolphins. So for the first, I'm going to talk about each of the weeks here. First 6 weeks. They go probably 4-2 for the first 6 weeks. Next 6 weeks, I say they probably go 3 losses and 3 wins. And I think they win the last 2 games. I put themselves at 9-7. I think they're going to get a 9-7 here, which is going to be slightly better than some of the other teams. Chargers. Can I just say, Chargers have the number 1 pick this year. If they don't get a good pick, this is what they're going to get. Again, they did not win a single game. And actually, let's see. Look at the Chargers here. Chargers are actually better than you might think. They're 42-70-2, 36% win rate. They've actually made the playoffs 4 times. That was what that's what it was last season, kind of. But the thing is, they're gonna have some games. I think they lose all of their games in the division. I don't think they win any games in the division. I think they win against the Colts. I think they win against Athens. And I think they win against the Colts second time playing. So in the end, I do think they're going to win a few games. Unfortunately, 3-13 is not exactly a very good position. That still puts them dead last in their division. Westville, of course, gets 4th. Superman wins the division by a hair. Beagles and Stars. I'd say the Stars are going to slightly have an edge. I think they're going to get this. So right now, looking at that, I do think these 3 teams are all going to make the playoffs. But currently, that's only ensures that this team makes the playoffs, and that's it. That we know for sure. All right, last 2 here. This is one of the toughest divisions. And the Warriors, I say 5-3 in the division. Yeah, they're gonna have a easy. They should have a. They have a much more difficult schedule, but they have a pretty decent schedule. I'd say 9-7 is fair for them. Lynx, I think again they're gonna go 5-3, and I think honestly they're gonna do slightly better than the Warriors. I would say 10-6. And what I say that means, what that means is I think they actually win every game against the Otters. They win one of the games against the Warriors. They win both games against the Lions, and they win both games against the Packers. Or one game against, I think they dance. But it's gonna be It's gonna be a position of whoever they do actually does better, because the Leggings, remember, they are at the winners of the division. They went 11-5 and won the Ball Bowl. So, yeah, it's actually a really good position for them. And honestly, I'd say they're in a position to at least make the playoffs next year. Otters, I do think they're going to have a hard time in the division. I do think they're going to get a slightly sad 3-5 in the division. But everything else, other than those things, I think honestly they're doing pretty well. I would say they're going to go 8-8 in the division, 8-8 overall. I think it's pretty fair to put them that way. As for the Packers, sadly, I think they get one win in the division, and they get 7 losses. Sadly, they also only get 3 wins overall and get 13 losses. There's three games I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win one game against the Lions. I think they're going to win against the Giants, and I think they're going to win against probably the 8th one time. Maybe not the 8th, but it's one game. I think they're going to win 3 games. Unfortunately, that's going to put them in last place, I bet you, because I think the Lions are going to be really good. What was the Lions' strength? What was the Lions' strength of schedule? .3. 8.03. Lions, in the context, are actually not a bad team. They're actually really good. I think the division is what's going to make them. What's going to be tough for them. I think they win 3 games out of the division and lose 5 of them. And these may not add up or anything like that, but in context, yeah, I think they're going to do really not great. I think they're going to get lucky to get a 7-9 record. And honestly, looking at these last 6 games, they have the toughest last 6 games schedule of any team. Yeah, toughest last 6. They've got the Otters hard, Panthers hard, Lynx hard, Falcons hard, Warriors hard, Werewolves maybe difficult, depending on how they go. They got the Pirates also right before them. They got the Lynx before that, and they got the Warriors right before that. They have really got the hardest 50% schedule of any team. Now, they don't have necessarily the hardest schedule, but not going to put them in a very good position. However, I will say the Lions are probably going to get, that will put the Packers in dead last. Ours are going to get 3rd, I think. Lynx are going to I don't think they're going to quite win the division, right? No, we have the Lynx winning the division as of right now, if everything goes out well. Warriors are going to be 2nd, and the Lions will go right here. The last division is the NBL South. I didn't make one above here. Let's see. Obviously, they're not actually what we have. Techs are going to be a good team. They're probably the best team in that division. No. I do have them going 4-4 in the division, according to what I hear. And I do think in the end, they're probably going to lose. They're going 7-9. I think it's actually pretty accurate. I think looking at it, they actually have one of the tougher, harder in the schedule, but they don't have a tough division, which means they're probably going to do okay. UNC, I think they actually are going to be one of the teams that are going to go really good, 7-1 in the division. Yeah, I have Techs losing both times in that division. But unfortunately, looking at their games, these are the 4 games I really would want to watch. Let's say them actually, if they actually win 3 of those games, they actually very have a good chance. Sadly, they're not going to quite do it. I think 7-9 is going to be lucky. I think they're going to get lucky with 8. I think they're going to get lucky with one of these games to go 8-8. But not going to be very good. Bobcats. Bobcats have one of the tougher schedules here. I do think they're going to go 3-5 in the division. I do think they're going to have that. But I do actually have them going 9-7. I think they're going to actually get some good wins in the end. 3-5 in the division, but 9-7 overall is pretty good. Even though, we got the Colts here. Sadly, I don't see them winning any games in the division. I'm going to give them 1 win. 1 win. That's it. They get 1 win. I guess that's going to be against the Techs. And sadly, they get 1 win for the rest of the season, putting them at 2-14, making them the worst team in this year's game. Because the Dolphins are going to be really good. I still put them probably at 5-3. As for the Dolphins' other position record, not going to be quite good enough. I think they're going to have to say 7-9. Now, what does that mean? That means the Colts are going to be the worst team in the entire division. UNC, although they're 7-1, they still only get 2nd place. Against the Bobcats, who will be the winner of the division. Dolphins are going to be 7-9. I think they're going to do slightly worse. Just looking at the Techs, I think the Techs will get a slightly better chance here. Now, who makes the playoffs? This is the last thing we're going to talk about here. Here we are at an hour or so. Who makes the playoffs? In the NBL North, the Panthers, the Legends, make the playoffs. I will bold them in. Panthers, looking at all these other teams, unfortunately, Panthers might be the only team that might actually have a chance. But unfortunately, I don't know if they're going to make it. I might not say they might make it. These 2 teams might make it. I'll put the P's next to them for P's that might. It's possible to make it. But their teams are not doing it. Pirates make it here. And I think the Dragons are possible, but not necessarily. Remember, it's 8 teams to get into the playoffs. As for the NBL North here, Browns make it into the playoffs. That's only because they have a terrible division. I don't think anyone else makes the playoffs. NBL South, I do think that means the Foxes do make the playoffs for sure. And I might actually say the Hawks make the playoffs. Let's see, that puts them in. Go back to the NBL. I think the Panthers do make the playoffs here, and the Knights will also make the playoffs. But it's going to come down really to these are the teams I think are going to make the playoffs. Because that puts the Panthers and Knights in the playoffs. I think the Dragons make the playoffs, which will make it 1, 2. That's in here. That's 3, 4, 5. Wait, 1. That's 3, 4, 5, 6. No, it is 7, 8. So both these teams, I think, make the playoffs. So I think the Hawks do make the playoffs, but it's gonna be really good. I think honestly, this is gonna be a losing season for all these teams in this one. NBL. This is actually interesting because this is a division I thought was going to do really well. And yeah, both these teams make the playoffs. That's 2. Where else probably don't might make it? We'll see. It's possible to make the playoffs, but I don't know if they actually make the playoffs. The ABL North, we got 1. So that's 3. I think the Beagles make the playoffs, and the Stars actually probably. Oh wait, did I do that right? I did not do that right. I think the Beagles make the playoffs. That puts it 4. I don't think either one of these two teams make the playoffs at this time. So that puts it this. We get ourselves. So that's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I said we get 6 here. And then 7, and then I think UNC probably makes the playoff. No, not UNC. UNC does not make playoffs, right? Now UNC probably doesn't make playoffs. Let's see, who is the next best 9 and 7 team? I think, honestly, it's going to be tough because I think the Stars do make playoffs here. I think those would be the 8 teams that make playoffs. And I'll put Phoenix, you can take a look at those. And you can see these, you can't make any changes to. So I know this has been a long episode. We're going to talk about which teams are going to make the playoffs. It is interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how these teams go in the end here. And honestly, I don't know what to go with these teams because, teams are going to have a hard time. The first games in the NBL, just check the calendar for that. Are on first games are February 10th. I'll have more videos about this later, and I'll have the video talking about predictions for how everyone's going to do after the draft. I'm not going to do it before the draft, but draft is December 30th, 31st, 1st, and possibly the 2nd. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys in the next video. Don't forget to keep your game on, and welcome back to the NBL Week. I do have one more quick thing I want to say. If you guys want to take over a team, link is going to be below in the video. Link is going to be below to all those. See you guys in the next video, guys.